Welcome, everybody. We're back with another edition of the You Like That Feels Great Baby podcast. I can't believe we're already into week 4 of the NFL, 3 weeks down, 15 more to go in the regular season. We're going to go over some of the biggest stories from last week and what we expect from week 4 and going forward. Obviously, the biggest story last week was definitely Miami hanging 70 on Sean Payton's Broncos, but this is a 49ers and Vikings podcast, so we got to start there first. Joey, Thursday night football, Niners, Giants, it went about as you expected. They're 3-0, no major injuries. I was going to ask you this straight off the top, and Niners fans are going to knock on wood everywhere, but is this the best and most comfortable start in franchise history to this point for the Niners?
To answer that question, I think it's the best start we've had with a really good team. Like, I think we started like 8-0 the year we went to Super Bowl in 19, and then lost that, I think, a Monday nighter to Seattle at home. But that one was like, are we good? Are we not? Because we had been terrible for like a few years under Kyle. Before that, it's like, where are we going with this? But this year, to start 3-0 with high expectations is good, because the last couple of years when we've also had high expectations, it's been like bumpy. I mean, last year we were a struggling team at 3-4 until we were traded for McCaffrey, and then that's when the Niners took off. But to start 3-0, win games you're supposed to win, is a really good start. Just a general thought on Thursday Night Football. It feels like your team plays like 3 weeks ago when they do. It's always nice to get a win out early in the week, but like I was thinking about even your Vikings, like playing the Thursday night before. I'm like, have they played like in the last month? Like, where's
those 10 days take forever to fill up, especially. Yeah. But I think there's a couple teams this year that get a Thursday night football followed by a bye. It's like, man, so much rest. It's like, when was the last time my team played? But when there's no injuries coming out of the game, you're like, oh, this is.
When you win, no injuries, and you play well. It's feels good.
Yeah, little bit of a slow start for Brock, and then you were criticizing Debo for some of his route running, and then that second half really quieted all the doubters down. I mean, real quick.
Yeah, the eye test said to me that was Brock Purdy's worst game as a 49er, especially the first half, which I don't think he played like poor, like bad, but just, yeah, I mean, if you watch the game, you saw some of them. George Kittle had to, lock down a safety on a pass that should have been picked off. He swatted it out. He threw a go or a jump ball to Debo in the end zone that Debo had to swat down. But yeah, I didn't realize how much he was blitzed. I mean, it looked like, I was like, oh, they're blitzing a lot, but I read that they blitzed 33 of 39 dropbacks, which is
that's the Wink Martindale method.
That seems like somebody just hitting the cover zero on Madden. Just every play. And I thought he handled it well. I mean, Kyle even said himself the next day, like, he thought he played even better than he thought, because it's a hard defense to learn in like, a day and a half on a short week when you've never seen it. So yeah, I mean, to me, I think the eye test was his worst game as a Niner. And he finishes 25 of 37 for 310, which was a career high in the regular season. He threw for more against Seattle in the playoff. But regular season, most yards, and he throws 2 touchdowns. And the biggest thing, 0 turnovers.
And the team won by 18 points.
Yeah, it's like, that's the worst performance. I'm like, okay, that's comfortable with that. Yeah, Debo to start. I mean, I love Debo Samuel, but yeah, when Ayuk was out, and I just saw they'd cut to replays of his routes. And I'm like, I'm not going to say he's Chase Claypool out there effort, but some of the route running is just, he kind of just, there's no put your foot in the ground and like cut left or right. That's what Brandon Ayuk does. And I thought it might hurt us a bit. Obviously, Debo gets a couple passes. As soon as he catches the ball, I mean, an absolute monster to bring down. But yeah, as complete as a game as you could have, I think, on a Thursday night. Those games get a little weird, but yeah, I mean, nothing really to complain about. I like that they used Elijah Mitchell. They actually played him this week because, I mean, I know Christian McCaffrey is really good, but I'm also trying to have him play, 17, 18 plus games, hopefully into February. But yeah,
Niners are, I believe, 15-1 in their last 16 games, including the playoffs. That's pretty good. Just breaking news. That's quite good.
It's like I saw a stat like Levi's. Even this was even back a few years. Like when Levi's first opened, it was like kind of the end of the Harbaugh time, and then of course we went through 3 or 4 like just shit years. And Levi's was just a joke. People were complaining about Candlestick, but now they still threw up a stat that the Niners have won 15 of the last 16 home games. And I don't know if that included playoff games. They've won some playoff games there the last few years. It's become a tough place to play. And that's why I think it's just a huge week with, Dallas, and I know Philly won, but Dallas even losing one game. I mean, it's going to be such a race to the 1 seed, which is, it's just crazy as a fan of your team. Like, the goal is like, okay, win your division, play well, but it's like week 3, it's like we're talking about the 1 seed, and it's like, yeah, that's kind of where the expectations are. I mean, it's the reality. I mean, with the way the roster is, it'd be underachieving if they. I'm not gonna say it's underachieving if they get the 2 seed or something to like a 14-3 Philly or Dallas team, but I mean, it was brought up again, but last year's loss in Chicago, week 1, to the frickin' Bears cost them the 1 seed, where they have to go to Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, so all these games, Dallas again, they lose to Arizona. Philly has, I mean, if your Vikings could just hang on to the ball, that game could have been different. It's just like it absolutely matters to get 2 home games, and then you're in the Super Bowl if you win it. It's such a huge advantage. But yeah, all systems go right now.
It's basically.
I was just laughing. They said Brandon Ayuk would have played if it was a Sunday, and maybe not against the Giants. But he's the only person that starter that's banged up right now. So that, again, no injuries with the Niners. That's always big. But yeah.
Basically ideal, ho-hum through 3 weeks, 3-0, won by 18, easy win against Pittsburgh, comfortable win against the Rams, got a little bit close late, but really great start to the season for the Niners. It's been the exact opposite for the Vikings, who are 0-3 for the first time since, I believe, 2011. So a really tough time for the Vikings. 11-0 last year in 1-score games in the regular season. If you include the loss to the Giants in the playoffs, they're now 0-4 in their last 4 games, and all 4 were 1-score losses. This one, the most heartbreaking of them all. I don't really think they had too much of a chance at the end of the game against Tampa Bay. They had the ball in their own territory as time expired. Against the Eagles, they really kind of backdoor covered that one. They weren't really in the game at any point in the second half. This game they had to have, and they had the ball at the 5-yard line with 41 seconds left, down by 4, and couldn't get the ball into the end zone. Horrendous clock management, where we snapped the ball when we had 1st and goal at the 2 with 19 seconds left. So 22 seconds ran off. Cousins, after the game, says, I couldn't hear the play because the fans were so loud when we were trying to operate our offense. So I'm like, okay, there's another disaster right there, putting a little bit of blame on the fans. It is just all going south in Minnesota right now. 0-3. Thankfully the Bears are 0-3, and will definitely finish ahead of them, by the end of the season. But already looking up at Detroit and Green Bay, who are both 2-1. Really, really tough spot. I'm not ready to write the team off, mostly because I've been relatively impressed with the defense. They've been put in horrendous spots by turnover after turnover after turnover. This game was no different. I texted you right as the game started. Easy drive down the field, about to score 7, pass to Hawkinson at like the 8-yard line. The ball literally gets ripped out of him. Ball goes the other way. Another fumble, our 8th of the year, and it was off to the races from there. So, man, tough situation for the Vikes. I don't really think there's any way back from 0-3 to the playoffs, but you've tried to tamper the expectations and say, hold on, let's just see how it goes.
Yeah, you have here on our little pregame notes here, like tank or try, and I'm like, absolutely, we're trying. I guess one of the cool things about this season, especially just looking in the Niners division with Arizona and the Rams, like no one tanks. Like these teams that suck, they just suck. There's too many people that have jobs on the line to tank, and Arizona beating Dallas this weekend might be the highlight of their season. It might not be. They easily could be 2-1 if not more. But to the
They
Vikings,
could be 3-0. They were in that Washington game
exactly.
week 1.
There's I don't know contract wise too much with the Vikings, like who's playing for deals and stuff, but the NFC I don't think like has super like all 7 playoff like clearly. I'm not 0-3 the playoffs is damn hard, but I just they're not getting blown out. The Charger game, easily. Philadelphia, I think they may take a step back from last year, but again, I keep saying if the Vikings, not just like 1 or 2, but they had 4 turnovers against Philly, and it's like you could have won that game in Philly on a short week. That's good coaching. That's good. Kirk Cousins is playing really. I know he had the pick at the end that's a killer, but I saw somebody say you'd like TJ Hawkinson to make a little bit, like better effort. I thought it was. It would have been a tough catch, but the only thing that sucks is the fans were too loud. Okay, Kirk.
Yeah. The thing that for me is why I'm not ready to give up yet is number one, we play at Carolina next week, and Carolina might be the 2nd or 3rd worst team in football. So obviously, if you're going to make the playoffs, you have to win that game. So if we lose that one, I'm out. I think we'll probably sell at the trade deadline. They will explore a Kirk trade, given that this is the last year of his deal. If you win that one, our season ends home Detroit, home Green Bay, at Detroit. Those are our final 3 games. So if you're just in the conversation with 3 weeks left, if you run the gamut in those 3, you probably will make the playoffs or win the division. So not over till it's over, but the early returns have been devastating. It's all been heartbreaking losses to this point, mostly due to turnovers, 8 fumbles, 4 picks through 3 games. But if you look at Cousins' stats, he's on pace for 5,600 yards and 50 touchdowns. We need to develop a running game, but we'll get more into that later. Obviously, I wanted to talk about the Monday Night Football doubleheader. We'll get to that in a little bit because we just watched those games. That's fresh in our head. We got to talk about our boy Mike McDaniel hanging 70 on Sean Payton and the Broncos. One of the craziest score lines in the history of the NFL, in the history of sports. 70 points has only happened 3 times in NFL history. That, I believe they reached 70 points with like 8 minutes left. So they really could have gone for the all-time record of 73 with just one more score. What a freaking beatdown and what a Ferrari they got going on offense there in Miami.
They have a Ferrari on the back of a jetpack that has like Usain Bolt as the pilot or something. They make the greatest show on turf look like the greatest show in mud. They had no Jalen Waddle too.
Insane.
I know Denver, like River Craycraft, who barely could crack the Niners like practice squad that Mike McDaniel stole. Raheem Mostert is still fast. The other running back, Devin A-Chain, I forget how to pronounce his name.
Mm-hmm.
Ran for 200.
When both of your running backs have 4 touchdowns in one game, quite good.
They said like Tua had 2 touchdowns with his right hand. Like
unbelievable.
You know what's crazy? We'll get into Denver, but I think I heard it today on TV. But I think Mike McDaniel not going for the record was the most like respectfully disrespectful thing. Like, no, we're good, but we let up because you're right. They could have scored 80.
Yeah.
Like they tried to run the ball and just take a couple knees. The backups, it's like when it was like the national championship game when Georgia like called off the dogs literally, and like here comes the backups, and I'm just like they're just 5-star recruits. Like
TCU is dead already. Please stop.
It's like they're so good. I love Mike McDaniel. I'm so happy for him. I'm so glad people like him, have success. They're damn good. They're damn good. Like
It's all track
I
stars.
don't remember. I don't think I had them making the playoffs in the predictions because I just didn't think Tua could stay healthy. But if he does, they're the 1 seed. Like
without a doubt.
Like, we have. I won't talk about the picks, but the fact that they're a dog by 3. I don't care that's in Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
I'm shocked. I mean, I think Miami. I love my Niners. I think the Niners are damn good.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have Miami if we were doing power rankings number 1. I don't know how you could.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you want to just do a quick off the top of the head top 3, I would go right now. I would go SF, Miami, Philly in that order. That would be my.
Really, you would have the Niners number 1.
I just think. I mean,
I'd have Miami number 1.
The Miami defense is probably not top 10 at this point. It's like 12th, and the Niners defense is first. And I would say Miami's offense is first. SF's offense is probably third or fourth. So it's like I will take the more well-rounded team right now, and it's split in hairs, but I would have them in that order. And then you're a big Dallas guy, but it's tough for you after that Arizona game.
Yeah, was. I mean, I still think they're like. Well, I guess I'll save my Dallas takes for when we talk about them. But yeah, if I did power rankings right now, I'd have Miami, San Francisco, Kansas City, Philly. And I don't even think Philly's looked as good as that's the thing. Philly's still winning, but I think they'll get used to the new coordinators and pick up steam.
And they're also 3-0. Everybody's like they've been struggling a little. It's like they're 3-0. They're 20-1.
I don't think Tampa's that bad.
21.
I don't think Tampa. I mean, I think Tampa's decent. Philly's defense really showed up today. Kind of got after Baker, but yeah, I'm trying to think like the AFC. Like I'm like I haven't forgot about Buffalo kind of getting exposed week 1. Like I know they beat the shit out of the Raiders in Washington. Who cares? Like I don't think. Yeah, I mean I could put them in the top, but yeah, that'd be my top 4. My little Mount Rushmore.
I'm going to segue into the next game we're going to cover. Here's the thought: if Deshaun Watson plays like he did in every play except one last weekend, so he went.
I wouldn't. I would not. Not being on social media and like not having red zone or anything. I wouldn't have seen that. You sent that to me. I'm like, what the hell was that?
It was one of the worst plays I've ever seen. Just a direct backward pass of like 15 yards. But on the very next play, he got like 60 yards back on a pass interference on a long bomb. So I was going to say the Browns are creeping up the power rankings. They just absolutely mollywhopped Tennessee. Absolute murder job by Myles Garrett. 3.5 sacks. I believe he took 6 points off the board by himself. He had a sack at the end of the first half of Tannehill where they couldn't get the field goal unit on the field in time after the sack. So that was 3 there. And then they were going to line up for a field goal at the beginning of the second half. He sacked them out of field goal range. They had to punt. Like the dude is a game wrecker. Cleveland's defense through 3 weeks actually has better stats than the Niners defense. They allowed 3 this week. They allowed 3 on opening day. And most of the points Pittsburgh scored against them on Monday Night Football last week were actually pick sixes and the like. So right now I would have Cleveland probably not 5th. I'd have them like 7th or 8th, but they are climbing rapidly.
I agree.
I mean, their defense is just off the freaking charts. And Ford, who's come in for Chubb after that devastating injury, he's been really good. So
I know. I'm glad it sounds like Nick Chubb, like it's not as bad as it appered to be.
Yeah, they say he'll be ready for next season.
But like that, I just thought that was such like a perfect snapshot of like the running back market.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have one of the best in the league, but he gets hurt, and it's like, okay, well, the guy who comes in next, like, looks fantastic. I mean, looks good. Like
he's what, like 10% worse?
Like, why wouldn't we pay you? Like, I just want to like have a just honest. I'm not. I don't know these people, but if I was a GM, I'd just be like, honestly, I'm not trying to be mean to you, Mr. Really good running back, but like, why should we pay you? Like, why? I don't.
Like your backup is 92% as good as you are,
like,
whereas our backup left tackle is 6% as good as Trent Williams. So like,
like look at the game tonight. Like the Rams left tackle is not even like any like Pro Bowl or all. I mean, forget all pro. Like it, but the backup comes in and it's like we literally cannot function. Like Hike and Stafford's on the ground. like, edge rusher, if you don't have a good one, like these quarterbacks will sit there all day and pick you apart. Tyreek Hill goes down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure Miami's not the same. Jefferson, Devontae Adams, any of these guys.
So I think to talk about elite players, I want to talk about a theory I have after watching the Dallas-Arizona game. You got that game in San Francisco market, right?
No.
We
did only because they quit the Chiefs game.
Oh, right. So I watched almost all of that game. I had my little triple box going for the 1:25 p.m. start out here on the West Coast. And I think your theory about Aaron Donald holds for Micah Parsons. Arizona ran at him the entire game nonstop, and it worked beautifully. And I think Dallas got a little exposed this week. Not like, oh my God, they're going to miss the playoffs, but anybody who was like, hey, they're a Super Bowl contender. First, they lost Trayvon Diggs for the season with a torn ACL. Then I think they got exposed by James Conner and a running game that in Arizona looked so good. They just ran it right at that formidable pass rush. DeMarcus Lawrence, Micah Parsons, just run it at them. Don't even try to throw the ball. And it worked. And Arizona pulled the epic upset. They were 12-point underdogs. They won by 12. Hell of a game.
Yeah, I mean, they absolutely got exposed. I mean, we'll get into the run defense, but Josh Dobbs, I mean, I'm not going to say he's like a Pro Bowler, but he sure seems like he has some talent. But 17 of 21, I'm looking at for 189, 120 passer rating. Like, I know Diggs went down. It's a emotional bummer for sure during the week, but like, come on, the rushing. I think they gave up like 220 yards rushing.
Yeah, every time I looked, James Conner was going for 8, 9, 10 yards almost every play, and it was almost always in the direction of Parsons, and I was like,
222. They gave up 7.4 yards a carry.
Unbelievable. You cannot contend for a Super Bowl.
Josh Dobbs had 6 for 55. Did Kyler Murray play? And that's the thing too, like I mean, Dallas is good enough. You start to think like, okay, playoff games, who are we playing? You're looking at San Francisco and Philadelphia. And what are they going to do? They're going to right up the gut.
Oh, yeah.
I
see Mac to the left, Mitchell to the right, Swift to the left, Gainwell to the right.
Like when, other than the one game that mattered against the Rams, the Niners would play Aaron Donald, the Rams. And I swear sometimes the way Kyle would call the game is he'd call the play and the offensive line goes up to the line of scrimmage and it just didn't matter. The offensive line could have said, hey, boys, we're running left. Like, ain't nothing you can do to stop it. And it's honestly emasculating, I would assume, as defense. Like, you're just getting gashed.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody, I forget, was talking about on TV, I forgot who, but, someone who obviously knows X's and O's of football. And it's just like, oh, Diggs, like, he's out. Like, how does it really affect the run defense? And it's like, well, they're just not as aggressive. And they can't leave a guy one-on-one. I mean, Arizona doesn't even have a number one receiver. But, like, if you had Diggs cover that guy, follow him around, now you have to have an extra, like, corner or, like, maybe linebacker kind of shade or safety, and there's less guys in the box. And then just, I mean, their pass rush, like the Niners, is just so aggressive. Like, it's just, we don't care about stopping the run. It's get up the field. The problem with Dallas is their linebackers, I don't think, are suited for that.
Right.
Like the Niners don't have anyone on the defensive line other. Nick Bosa is all around elite player. No one else on the front stops to run that well.
Mm-hmm. Even Hargrave.
I'll give Armstead gives credit. Hargrave is a pass rusher.
Yeah.
He's a damn good one. He's a pass rusher. Javon Kinlaw couldn't stop me. He's having a better year. I'll give him credit. The guys who stop the run are Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw. They hit the hole harder than anyone in the league, and I just don't think the Dallas linebackers do that. And if you just let Micah, you don't even block him. You let Micah Parsons run up the field because he's like, oh, I'm getting defensive player of the year. Here comes sack number whatever. It's like, okay, cool. Like
we handed it to James Conner. He's already that way. See ya.
It is, and I thought, I mean, Dan Quinn, he's been a damn good defense coordinator for. I was like, okay, that's now on film.
Yeah.
And then we can get into Dak. I mean, let's throw it into a defensive team meeting at the end. The game, they weren't coming back anyway, but it's just like, you played Arizona, but I just want to be like, you don't get to play the Giants and Jets every week, Dallas.
Right. It's been a cushy start for them. Now that we know what the Giants are, we know what the Jets are. I mean, a super cushy start for Dallas. And I mean, I think they're going to come back to the pack a little bit. They get another.
They'll be fine. I'm not trying they'll be fine, but like relative to like what people are. I know they get talked about because they're the Cowboys, but I mean, just let us just come back down to earth here about what's going on.
Yeah,
I thought they missed Zeke Elliott. I've been calling him Fat Elliott, but like they missed him like down the goal line, and they went 1 of 5 in the red zone.
Yeah,
they
need someone to punch it in. I mean, they play New England this week at home, and I'm like, God, how do they get another cushy game? But I looked at their schedule. Once you get later in the year, you have that, I believe it's Philly, Seattle, Philly, SF stretch for them where it's just like, God help them. But as of right now, I mean, crazy situation there in Dallas.
They play I'm looking at their schedule. They play Miami on Christmas Eve. That's cool.
That is going to be an unbelievable game. Let's just quickly go through the Monday night doubleheader. Really nothing to talk about in the Philly game. Ho-hum, they ran the ball, like nobody's business. Yeah. They shut down Baker. Tampa Bay clearly not for real. They're just a decent team. They may end up, coming out of the South. Who knows? But the South is a lot weaker than we thought heading into the week.
We thought it was bad. I thought Carolina that aged like the worst tasting milk you've ever had. But the Saints, I thought clearly but now with Carr's injury, okay, maybe a team like Tampa could hang in there. But yeah,
whoever comes out of that division is going to be 8-9,
4 seed, and you'll get maybe probably Dallas or Philly or maybe
Seattle,
that, and you'll get whooped.
Yeah. So I didn't really want to cover that game too much. It was the Rams-Cincinnati game. So we were texting throughout that whole game. I mean, Cincinnati, even in the win, which they absolutely had to have, Burrow said in the post-game interview with Lisa Salter said, I'm good. He'll be good to go for next week. He didn't re-aggravate anything. So Bengals fans are like, all right, we're back on track. I say not so fast.
No,
I picked them to win the Super Bowl.
No, you're not.
They are not on track. The ultimate sus performance in a 1916 win. And I just I'm as a guy who not only picked the Bengals to win the Super Bowl, but bet on it, I feel like that bet's dead in the water. Cincinnati's been a tire fire to this point. Very unconvincing win. Probably shouldn't have even won by 3. Kind of bailed out by a bunch of 50-yard field goals by McPherson. Rough game for Cincinnati fans because they come out of it with a win, but they're like, man, if that's our best at home against a Rams roster that would be considered bottom 10 in the league, they are not a contender right now.
I mean, I have a hard time seeing them make the playoffs. I mean, they probably do because the crazy thing is the AFC isn't as good as I think we assumed it would be.
Mm-hmm.
The Chargers are decent, but they're not. Raiders suck. Denver is a complete disaster. The Chiefs are fine. The AFC South in general, because Jacksonville's been a bummer.
Jacksonville's way down. Yep.
I mean, I still think the AFC North is decent, but Jets without Rodgers are a joke. New England sucks. I think Buffalo, Miami will make the playoffs, but I just people before the season were saying there's 10 teams. It's no.
There's 6.
No, there's not.
Yeah.
But just looking at their schedule, I mean, they get at Tennessee, which I know Tennessee's not great, but I mean, Vrabel can coach, and I mean, but then they go to the Arizona Wagon. Then they get Seattle, San Francisco, Buffalo.
Whew.
And then
they
the
have
Texans.
To win. The next 2, they have to win.
Texans ain't bad. I've talked crap about CJ Stroud this entire podcast, but he looked pretty damn good. Give him some credit. Then they go at Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Jacksonville.
Yeah. They have to win the next 2 weeks.
And they finish with the Chiefs and Browns. No.
Yeah.
They're not happening.
If they make the playoffs, it's going to be as a 7 seed. Not looking.
The crazy thing just watching today was even some of the maybe he's really hurt and not letting on. Just some of the passing, he was just okay, here's an out route to Chase or Higgins. It's the ball is in the sideline.
It's not the same Joe Burrow from the last 2 seasons. You can say it's because of injury, but I mean, it just kind of looks like the team is disjointed in general. So since
the Rams should have. I mean, I'm not gonna say they should have won, but they just. I just think about the Niner game last week. We barely got pressure on Stafford at all. We only sacked him one time when we blitzed, our linebacker. But I mean, I know their tackle went down, and here comes just an absolute traffic cone. at left tackle. But man, I mean,
Cincinnati doesn't win the game if Trey Hendrickson doesn't spend the entire second half in the backfield just pummeling Stafford over and over again.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't feel good if I was the Bengals.
Absolutely. So that's the recap of week 3. We'll get into some other stuff when we get to the Jack and the Bum of the Week and my picks. We're going to go to Jack and the Bum of the Week now. I have a laundry list of candidates, and it starts at the top with Zach Wilson, who got absolutely shit on by Joe Namath today, who's like 85 and could barely speak. Didn't matter. He called into a radio show and was like, this guy is the worst quarterback. And I was like, God damn, like, for an 85-year-old guy to call into a radio show
I love it.
Shit on you.
Dude still cares. Just bleeds green.
And he said, of all my years as a fan and a player, I've never seen a quarterback this bad for my team. If that doesn't get Wilson benched, if that doesn't get a guy like Jacoby Brissett in the building or Carson Wentz or somebody professional.
I saw today that someone asked Saleh that today. And he's like, it's a question for the GM. I'm like, oh. So maybe you two not on the same page. Maybe Saleh's like, I'm sick of this crap. And the GM's like, what do you want me to do? Like, GM is probably not trading a 1 for Kirk Cousins.
You want me to go get Heineke?
Yeah, like Carson Wentz called, I hung up. Like
tough situation.
Yeah,
there.
Carson Wentz called and he's like, I didn't write back.
Yeah.
I like what are they supposed to do?
Another one that I wanted to add to the list, Josh McDaniels. Twice he had an opportunity to go for it yesterday. Down by 8 in the fourth quarter, under 3 minutes left in opponent territory. He went to kick the field goal the first time. A penalty on Pittsburgh elongates the drive. I'm like, okay, he accepts that penalty. It saves him from his shit-ass decision to cut a 1-score game to a 1-score game. And then he goes down another 15 yards and does it again and kicks it. No penalty to bail him out this time.
That was big dumb.
And this is a guy who's from the Belichick tree of smart football and 2 idiotic moves on the final drive. Didn't really cost them the game. I don't think they were going to win it anyway, but just a total blunder there for McDaniels. We already mentioned the Cowboys, 12-point favorites, losing by 12. You don't see 24-point swings like that in the line very often, so a hugely underwhelming performance from Dallas. The Jags, we love DeMeco Ryans on this podcast. I did not see a 20-point win for the Texans in that game.
They look good.
They look great. A fullback returned a kickoff for a
That's
touchdown.
Wild.
If
I was Doug Peterson, I would just find somebody to cut.
Yeah.
And just make an example.
Well, that's what Booger McFarland said. I watched NFL Primetime today, and he's doing it with Berman, and he goes, a fullback does not return a kickoff for a touchdown.
That can't happen. Somebody's getting cut.
He goes, if everybody's giving full effort, that physically cannot happen because you have guys out there who run 4 3s and 4 4s. That cannot happen. So, effort
and
question.
It wasn't like a weird one. It was dude ran from the left side all the way to the right side.
And nobody caught him. One guy had a chance, missed the tackle. I'm like, damn. So clearly something's wrong in Jacksonville. Also, kudos to DeMeco Ryans on his first career win and a sideline there that was just hopping the whole game, like a very positive team. CJ Stroud looked good. Teammates were all fighting for each other. Good situation there in Houston. So the Jags were a nominee. And then the final one would be my Vikings. You're just turning over the ball in key situations over and over and over again. You've thrown a season away basically through 3 games solely through turnovers. Kevin O'Connell came out today in his press conference and said, I'm going to have to make changes at certain positions to guys who have better ball security. So, that's not a good sign.
I heard that. I'm like, okay, what are you going to do? Cut Justin Jefferson? You're going to cut TJ Hawkinson? What are you going to do, Kevin?
Yeah, I think that means Alexander Madison.
It's like we're going to make some tough decisions. And it's like, I'm just like, well, you better hope I don't know, some guy on special teams fumbles the ball because now that you said it, now that you said it, and if Jefferson or even KJ Osborne, the next guy to fumble,
you're like, oh, well, gonna be a
if I'm one of those, guy number 45 on the roster, I'm like, you said it, coach, cut him, because if not, I'm just gonna think you just
you got different rules for different players.
Exactly. Like everyone doesn't know that there's different rules for different players, but I'm just like, okay, Mr. Tough Guy.
Yeah. So the Vikings, the Jags, the Cowboys, Josh McDaniels, Zach Wilson. It's none of them. It's the most obvious. Give us your Jack in the Bum of the week.
There was really good. It's a good week, really good week for some bums. But yeah, I mean, everyone's talking about it. The Jack in the Bum of the week specifically is Sean Payton. To give up 70 and to feel like, I'm really glad they didn't run up the score against us is just a mind just numbing thought. But he's mostly my Jack in the Bum of the week, not for the play, because you can make the Jack in the Bum of the week Vance Joseph. You can make the Jack in the Bum of the week Cortland Sutton, who every time I looked at the TV fumbled the ball. You know who you can't make the Jack in the Bum of the week this week? I'll get Russell Wilson.
He was fine.
He's fine. Like,
he was also fine last week.
Exactly. And I'm glad, because like, just like Nathaniel Hackett, that's a huge reason why Sean Payton is on this thing. You said Nathaniel Hackett was the worst coaching job in the hit. You know what? After 3 weeks last year, Nathaniel Hackett was 2-1, Sean.
He beat the 49ers.
Hackett. Yes. Come on, you were on. Someone said you were on Fox all year, man. Oh, this guy, I would have done this. Like me, I'm a Super Bowl champion, Sean Payton. I would have done this. Who was also a Super Bowl champ, pretty damn good, Drew Brees, Sean. I've been saying this about Bill Belichick. What are you actually doing, Bill? Your team is quite mid ever since Tom Brady left. That might be nice.
Mm-hmm.
Sean Payton, what'd you do? He gets credit for Jameis Winston. Well, Jameis Winston's still a backup.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't turn into Geno Smith. That was Pete Carroll, who gave you Russ because he saw that he was ass. What do you do? You can't give up 70. And then last week you threw Russ under the we need to get Russ needs to hear me better and call the plays quicker. We might need to put a wristband on him.
Scored 33 points last week and 20 this week.
Why don't you have every single player on your defense wear a wristband? I saw it today. He better do a whole lot of eyes in the press this week. I need to be better. I'll be better. If I hear one player name, I don't even care if it's Cortland Sutton, who ate some popcorn before the game started. Come on, Sean. It's already, the thing too is I noticed, I was watching Coward's show, Coward, who's Fox guy, I talked to him, we're not best friends, but we've had dinner, and I know Sean was holding out for the Charger job. He really wanted Justin Herbert, but money talks, and here comes the Walmart family for some big money. You're already we're already hearing Sean Payton, he really wanted the Charger job, but he only took no, Sean, you took the job for probably close to $20 million a year. Don't give up 70.
Win the ball games,
they got the Bears this week in what might be just the best game of the week. I'll be.
Have you seen those TikToks? I mean, you're not on social media lately, but they've been doing ones that say special teams, and it shows a punt return versus special teams, and then it shows the Broncos and the Bears meeting next week, and it's implying that maybe they were playing on a different playing field than the rest of the league.
They are. It's Sean again.
What exactly do you do?
Last year, I was convinced with the whole because last year it really was Russ, his fault. His play was bad, but I thought his just off the field stuff, I need an office, I need my team here, I need my parking, all that crap. Okay, fine, you want to do that? We better win. If Tom Brady all these years wanted his parking space or whatever, which he didn't, because he knew the 53rd guy on the team was just as important as him, then he'd get his parking space because he was good and he won. Russ, you don't get it. You weren't playing well. You're doing high knees on the plane. You're doing all this, let them know shit on the sideline. What are we doing, Russ? This year, I haven't really heard him talk. I haven't heard one less ride. Someone had to have told him, dude, cut the shit. He's been fine. He's been so my point is benching him doesn't fix anything.
It just creates another problem.
Like, I don't like what people are saying, like fire fans Joseph. I'm like, oh, after 3 weeks, like you hired him.
Mm-hmm. That's your guy. I mean, last year, Ejiro Evero had that defense, top 5 in the league heading into the final couple weeks before they got mathematically eliminated and just.
I mean, they have one of the best cover corners in the league. Justin Simmons, the safety, is making a lot of money.
So there was a play. I want to talk about this play, and then we'll get to my picks. There was a play that I saw the All-22 on Twitter. It was Devin Achane's second big run.
Achane, that's how you pronounce his name.
Yeah.
What the hell did I say? Achane? Like, what a dick.
His second big run, he starts on the right side of the line, cuts it back left, and he's running along the left sideline. 10 guys have a chance to tackle him, and none of them make the effort. They all miss. They all never put themselves in a position to tackle him. Patrick Surtain ran from the other sideline where he was covering, I believe, he was covering Tyreek Hill. He sprinted all the way across the field, basically ran like 70 yards to make the tackle at the 5-yard line. They have one guy on that defense trying right now. Great job, Sean Payton. Way to motivate your guys. Insane.
Sean Payton was hired to fix Russell Wilson, and I think he was hired more to fix the stuff off the field, even than the on the field stuff, which is saying a lot because the on the field stuff needed a complete makeover. And he's almost just right now. He's worse than Russell Wilson at that stuff. Russ hasn't said nothing. I haven't been hearing how many. Babies he's kissing. All I'm hearing is Sean Payton's upset with how many babies he's kissing. Sean Payton's upset with, the play, the verbiage, not getting in the huddle. I'm just
Sean Payton's barking at reporters in every post-game presser.
He's like, what's your question? He's like, I'll get to my question. I was just trying to let out the historical beatdown you just took. This isn't just oh shit, we lost 40-0. Like the Giants, week 1.
Yeah.
Who cares? You have double that.
Give up 70, and it could have been more. It really could have been.
If you played Madden, if you were the Miami Dolphins against, I don't know, the worst, 08
Lions.
Yeah. And you put it on rookie mode, it's hard to score 70.
There's just not enough time. But they found
a way.
They
could have scored more.
They called off the Dogs with 7 minutes left in the game and still scored 7 more points on that long chain touchdown. It's goodness gracious me. Sean Payton, through 3 weeks, by far the jack in the bum of the season. And he's this week's jack in the bum of the week.
So I'm just looking at the box scores on ESPN. So they have the passing leader, rushing leader, receiving leader. A-Chain, the right is the first guy listed. 18 for 203 and 2 touchdowns. I'm didn't Raheem Mostert have 4 touchdowns? He's not even the first guy listed.
I told you, Mostert had 45.1 fantasy points. I had him in 3 of my leagues. It was awesome. And I texted
he only had 82 yards, but still he had 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, and he had a bunch of receiving yards too. And I said, I said, he could go for the record. I think the record for most points in a game fantasy-wise is Jamal Charles from 12 years ago or whatever. He didn't even end up having the most on his own team because it changed.
Okay. I get it. Tyreek Hill could be the best receiver in the league. The other receivers that are on this box score, listen to this. Robbie, the chosen one, Raheem Mostert, Braxton Berrios, A-Chain, the running back, Durham Smythe, River Craycraft, and Julian Hill.
You gave up 70.
Dropped 70. And again, the running backs, I love Raheem Mostert. But Barry Sanders ain't on this list.
Mostert, A-Chain, and Mike White came in for a
Do you know why A-Chain was probably the most picked up guy in fantasy this week? Because he wasn't on anyone's team.
Yeah. It's insane. I mean, they will be talking about that game for a long time. The last time I saw a beatdown like that was, I believe, the Patriots won 59-0 against Tennessee a few years ago. It was a snow game. I remember seeing that on Red Zone and being like, does that really say 59?
Again, to give credit, Russell Wilson, 23 of 38 through 306. That's the other thing. So to finish it up, was bullshit to have him at the end of the game.
Yes.
Like there's
You're down.
there's no
50.
way.
Yeah.
And I think Xavier Howard from Miami said it too. Like, dude, like there's no reason other than to just make a mockery of him than to have him in the game.
Unbelievable. Disrespect.
You want to do it last
Payton.
year? You want to do it last year when he's doing the high knee shit? I still don't like it, but I guess fine. If Nathaniel Hackett knew he was out the door, whatever. This is week 3 of your first year, Sean.
Absolutely brutal.
That's crap. That's
the disrespect.
That's me. That's me saying that. And Russell Wilson has ruined my life, my football life. And I'm like, this poor guy. Like, why is he there? And I'd even just nuance it even more. Like, if he was out there just to take a knee, they ran a play down 50. After they just got mercy ruled, not just turnover on downs.
It's shaping up to be something where he may be like Nathaniel Hackett. It might be a one and done.
I'm dead serious. Like, you know what there's no salary cap on? Coaches. And who's got a shitload of money? The Walmart family. I wouldn't be surprised because those people have been successful at everything they've ever done. If those people here and are again second year in a row an absolute meme on social or just a joke, those people are not going to take. They're not going to want to show up to the owner meetings. And Michael Bidwell's like, "Oh, what's up? Arizona's like 4-4. We're like halfway decent. What the hell's going on over there, Denver?" We might have hired Jonathan Gannon, but guess what? We took the bus and we got fire in our gut, and we're 4-4. And you know how much I'm paying him? Nothing. You're paying Sean Payton $20 million a year
through 3 weeks
to be a joke.
Brandon Staley on the hot seat, Matt Eberflus on the hot seat, and unbelievably, in
that's
year
right. You know what?
Sean Payton.
Screw my other feels great baby take because I typed that before when I thought the Rams kind of might have made a thing today. My hot take is Sean Payton might be one and done.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. First, we got to do my picks. I got to take a victory lap, man. I went 4-1 last week. We're 9-5-1 so far in 2023. So a hot start. We went 30-20 last year. Like, this is starting to get like, hey, maybe we actually know something about football. Watch me go on 5 this week. Last week we had Detroit -3.5, got there easy against Atlanta. Tennessee, terrible pick. Cleveland's defense is just, unstoppable. Miami -6.5, barely got there. Had 43.5 points to spare there on that pick. The Vikings Chargers under 54.5. Man, we barely got there. That was not going to get there, but it did. And then Seattle took care of business against Carolina. So 4-1 last week. I got 5 more picks for you this week. I ran these by you before, and I think we really like these two. Miami +3. When I saw that it was +3 against Buffalo, I expected the line to be Buffalo 1, maybe 1.5.
There's no chance. Like I don't get that. I said earlier, I don't get that.
Yeah,
Miami almost beat him in Buffalo with
Skylar Thompson.
A man named Skylar.
Yeah. Miami's a must play there coming off of last week. Everybody's going to be like, oh, letdown spot, tough game on the road in Buffalo. You're not playing Buffalo in -6 degrees. The weather will be fine.
I think Josh Allen is gonna be like, boy, I gotta show up. I gotta be like, I think we're gonna get week 1 primetime YOLO Josh Allen.
Yeah. He's going to try to do too much to try to keep up with that Ferrari offense there in Miami. I like Miami +3. Philly at home against Washington is only -7. I expected that to be like 9.5, 10. I will take that every day of the week. Dallas -6.5 at home against New England. You said at the beginning of the year, I was more on the maybe New England will be around 500 train. After watching that game against the Jets, I mean, that might be their only win through 8 weeks. I mean, they are awful. And they're, Dallas is only -6.5. It's a game where McCarthy and especially Dan Quinn are coaching to try to put some respect back on their name. Prescott's not going to give the ball away like he did last week. They are just going to run it all over New England. Mac Jones will score, 3 points in this game? 6? Give me Dallas.
I actually have confidence in the Patriots defense to I have my thoughts about Belichick and their team right now, but I think they'll be okay on defense. But yeah, I mean, the Patriots are not scoring.
Yeah, they might score 6 in this game. If they score 24, I'll take the loss. But I mean, you got to bet on Dallas's defense after last week's performance being like we're going to reassert who we are. Kansas City -9 at the Jets on Sunday Night Football. This is assuming Zach Wilson will start. I assume he will. They could make a move at any moment.
This is like NBC's just like, oh, fuck. like we
the
had
flexing
Mahomes and
starts
Rodgers
week
and
5.
like,
I read that today. Flexing starts week 5. So like they're stuck with this one that they wanted Buffalo, Miami. They're stuck with Kansas City and the Jets. I'm going KC.
That's right. We start
-9.
flexing next week.
And then Seattle +1.5 at the Giants. They're saying, Giants extra rest. Barkley may be back. I don't care. That team is not good. They took a minor miracle for them to beat Arizona. Give me Seattle plus the points on the road there. So here they are. You like that picks of the week. For week 4, we're 9-5-1 so far in 2023, coming off a 4-1 week. Here's 5 more picks for you. Miami +3 at Buffalo. Philly -7 at home against Washington. Dallas -6.5 at home against New England. Kansas City -9 at the Jets. And Seattle +1.5 at the Giants on Monday Night Football. Joey, it's time for your Feels Great Baby. Your wildest take you feel best about. And you were going to say that the NFC West might get 3 playoff teams, which is insane because everybody thought the Rams would suck. But yeah, you got a lot of choices here. What are you going with?
Well, I just said it, like literally just talked myself into it. Yeah, my original one was I think the NFC West gets 3 playoff teams. Because I typed that when I thought the Rams might pull off an upset today. So I don't feel as great about that. But since the definition of Joey's this Feels Great Baby take, it says here, wildest take of I feel best about, and a wild take. I do. I think Sean Payton it might be one and done. Might. I don't know the reason. Like, does he get pushed out? Does he actually get fired?
Does he retire?
Or does he quit?
Yeah.
Because eventually, what's kind of happening to Belichick, I think, is like if you sit on this hot dog pile of shit in Denver like long enough, people are going to be like, "Are you good?" Like, was Drew Brees just like a Hall of Famer? I don't know, and I just think Sean Payton seems like the type. I don't know, he just doesn't. His teams have been under. I mean, they're maybe not Pete Carroll like at USC or some of these other teams, but like there's been some shit with the Saints, like under his watch. I don't know. I think
let me give you this one. Since the 2009 NFC Championship game where there was a bounty on Brett Favre and the subsequent breaking of his ankle, Sean Payton being suspended for a season along with a few members of his staff, players getting fined and suspended. The New Orleans Saints have not won the Super Bowl. They've had 4 heartbreaking losses in the playoffs. Sean Payton has not won a damn thing. He has not gone back to the Super Bowl. And now he's in Denver and is on the verge of being canned 1 year in. Maybe there's a curse of Brett Favre.
Might be.
I'm just putting it out there. Like, who thought the Broncos would be this embarrassingly bad this year? I mean,
what I was thinking? This is what I was trying to talk about last week, and it looks like we might talk about with the quarterbacks here in a bit. But like, just who gets crap and who doesn't, like with just people takes in general. Like, it's just always interesting to me. Like Sean Payton, like you said, hasn't done dick in like over a decade. And he's just
13 years.
He's the Fox guy. Like, he's the savior. Here's like almost $20 million a year. Yet Mike McCarthy, who's also a Super Bowl champion with a future Hall of Fame quarterback, gets just routinely shit on. Like, and sometimes deservedly so. Like, I'll be fair. Sometimes
on your Mike McCarthy point.
But like he's like Dallas has been damn good last few years. Like maybe Dak stopped throwing the ball to the other team.
There's only one team in the NFL that's won 12 or more games in each of the last 2 seasons. Mike McCarthy.
Dallas. But he gets shit on.
It's insane.
We literally just said next week, like Mike McCarthy's got to coach for his reputation. It's like he won a Super Bowl. Like And it just makes me think about, like, do players and coaches get credit? Like, if we're ready to just shit on Russell Wilson and make him be like, wow, maybe he was like just carried in Seattle. Like, I want to do it to coaches. Like, maybe you were carried, Sean, Bill. Maybe you were carried by Tom. Like,
maybe these other coaches who've done it with multiple quarterbacks, like Andy Reid, are better than you.
Oh, exactly. Like Andy Reid, he's like, oh, he never won the Super Bowl until he got Mahomes. It's like, yeah, but he was in the NFC Championship game like every year.
With McNabb, with Jeff Garcia, with Michael Vick, with Alex Smith.
Yeah, like, and you look at some of these other coaches, the way they even just talk about their quarterback, which is such a just integral part of being a head coach now. Like, you even talk about like Jim Harbaugh, for the most part, has been good. Like, he came to San Francisco and was like, I love you, Alex Smith. We're gonna make it work. He wasn't like, screw this guy. I'm trading for like a guy who's already like a Hall of Famer, like to make my job easier. Look at our boy Mike McDaniel. Tua was like, this guy just getting crucified for just being the guy that was picked before Justin Herbert. Well, who actually looks better right now?
Literally nobody.
Like, Mike McDaniel said, no, Tua, man, I'm gonna make you an absolute stud. He's like, I love you, man. He wasn't like, now Miami did, be fair. The GM, it sounds like the owner were like, oh, let's get Tom Brady, or like, let's get Deshaun.
And then they had to settle.
I never heard that out of Mike
McDaniel.
Yeah. Mike McDaniel, like, he's like, oh, my job is to make Tua's job super easy. And like, let's see with Matt LaFleur. Like, they lose Rodgers, but like Jordan Love looks competent.
They're 2-1. They look good.
Like Sean McVay, yeah, he won with Matthew Stafford, but what did he make Jared Goff? Like, Baker Mayfield was there like a day, and Baker Mayfield like had a drive last year against the Raiders.
Yeah, on Thursday night, the epic victory. You're like, oh, the coach is pretty good there.
Like,
pretty good. So
maybe Sean McVay is just absolute Hall of Fame. Maybe Mike McDaniel goes down as one of the greatest coaches ever. But I'll give Pete Carroll, like, Russ, there he goes, but like Geno Smith
has him 2-1. Went to the playoffs last year.
I mean, he was also big at USC and stuff. Like, I just McCarthy has won at Green Bay. He's won in Dallas. Like, okay, Sean, like,
this is your chance to show us
until he got Tom Brady.
Yeah, and he's been bad since Brady left. I mean, I would say, your take here about Sean Payton being one and done, there's a lot of different avenues for that to come true. Like, number one, he could get fired, which would be shocking. It would be a huge financial blunder.
I think it's shocking he gets fired.
He could resign, which is very possible. He could say, I'm going to retire and go back into the booth, which would also not be surprising. He could be forced out by a player revolt. It's clear that his style of coaching is not resonating when 10 of your 11 players on defense don't try on a breakaway run in a blowout game. Like, tire fire there. I wanted to do my feels great, baby. I have not done one before because obviously that's Jimmy's tagline. Why would I steal that? But I have one
Jimmy had a Sunday night.
Jimmy has forfeited a lot of
Jimmy, I love you. Like, for being just objectively a very average player. Like, just, he was our very average player who was involved in a lot of memories as a Niner fan. Watching him play for another team right now, you're just like, damn. Like, I remember those days. like the second pick he had last night, he points at a receiver like, oh yeah, I'm gonna throw, but then throws it, chucks it over here to like a defensive team meeting, and it's like, Jimmy, what the hell was that?
And you're like, thank God I have Brock and not him. And you're like, damn, how quickly we moved.
But again, Josh McDaniels, like, you just tied your boat to him. Yeah. Okay, whatever.
Real smart.
Take it away. Eric's feels great, baby. Take.
Yeah, I had to do this. I thought about this all day on Sunday. I have watched football since probably, I would say, 98 was the first year that I really got into the NFL. I have watched it religiously since like 06, 07. There have been a lot of bad quarterbacks in the NFL. Obviously, Nathan Peterman, who I only think started 5 or 6 games, comes to mind as like one of the worst we've ever seen. There have been a lot of, like, I remember back in the day, there was like a Jim Drunkenmiller that played for the 49ers and Bears who was just awful. There was lots of guys who came in and out of the league who were just disasters. I really do think Zach Wilson is right there as the worst ever to play in the NFL. And you know who I think is not far behind him, especially, I mean, he's a runner, but he cannot throw the ball. Justin Fields, he threw for 99 yards in a game where they lost 41-10. And when you see 41-10, you think, oh, the quarterback was down the whole game. He threw for 310, but had 4 picks. He threw 99 yards. And this is in the open it up Justin Fields offense, not the one from last year. They brought in a new coordinator to be like, hey, we got to open this thing up and make it easy for him. 99 yards. Zach Wilson puts up 3 points through 56 minutes of that game against New England at home in a must-win game if you want to have any chance of making the playoffs against a division opponent, a team you've lost against 15 times in a row, and the fans boo him from the first minute of the game until the end. They got 1 touchdown on a fullback dive at the 1-yard line. I mean, this is controversial, but I really do think the worst quarterback I have ever seen play multiple NFL seasons is Zach Wilson. And
that's the thing.
Second might
who's
be
played. Who's the worst? Who has had a decent run of
right? Because you can't include guys Peterman.
You keep saying Peterman, but
he played 4
he was bad and then done.
Yeah. Got
Zach
Kyle
Wilson,
Bowler, Joey Harrington, your boy Tim Rattay. These guys were just 6 to 8 games. They were never oh, he started 41 games in the league. We've seen Zach Wilson for 3 seasons now. This guy is as bad as I have ever seen.
I don't know. I don't know why he's as bad as he is. Because I did like him in the draft. Yeah, I don't. Now the other hand,
process the game. I mean, we know
but
that.
No, I mean he can't. I mean he absolutely can't. But I don't know why he can't, because the offense that I think they have decent. I mean maybe Nathaniel Hackett. Everything was just designed for. I don't know. I thought
he's got Breece Hall. He's got Dalvin Cook. He's got Garrett Wilson.
I know the line sucks, but he should be better. I think Justin Fields, well, you've heard it here first. I think he sucks. I thought
no one's ever said that before.
You also, I don't see it coming out of the draft. I don't see it. Don't see it. I don't care. He's 6'4". I don't care that he runs. I don't care that his, arm talents. I kept hearing, oh, he's got arm talent. No, he doesn't.
Yeah.
To do what with his arm? Stretch it to throw a baseball, to do what?
Throwing
cannot throw.
Yeah.
Cannot throw. The Chicago Bears coaching staff doesn't think, like you said, in a game that it doesn't matter. Who cares if he goes out and throws 5 picks? They should turn that game into a scrimmage. Just see it. What can he do? Call a play. This play is not going to work. But I want to see if Justin Fields can see it, can maybe throw the ball somewhere else. He's hey, this call, against this defense, this guy, okay, just do situational football. They didn't even give him an option. They're no, you're not throwing the ball. And I think his comment, which was so blown out of proportion, is a throwing the coaches under the bus. I didn't think he, even when I read, especially when I saw the video and the context, I'm he's not really throwing. He's just explaining he basically, I think, outed himself. He's they said, dude, you have to stay in the pocket, and learn to throw the ball. And he's just yeah, they're telling me to stay in the pocket and throw the ball, but I turned into a robot and I can't do it.
That's what you heard. I kind of heard that too.
I'm
yeah.
I'm so you're telling me that they're coaching and telling you to stay in the pocket, which let me check here, is in the job description. And you're just said, yeah, man, I just want to run out there and just kind of wing it. But they're really trying to get me to run this offense, and it turns me into a robot. And I don't like it.
Mm-hmm. Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, both 2021 draft, along with your boy Trey Lance. I mean, 3 of the biggest busts of all time.
People keep talking about Trey Lance because he got benched to 4th string or the 3rd string, and then he got traded. I don't think that highly of him with what I've seen. I think he's better than those guys.
Oh, without a doubt.
He just was drafted by a team that's we're not messing around, bud. We're trying to win games. The Jets right now are not trying to win games if they keep rolling Zach out. And the Chicago Bears are, I mean,
They've lost 14 in a row, the Bears. I mean, at some point, Eberflus is going to get fired. So we had a couple takes there. You said Sean Payton could be one and done. You think maybe the NFC West gets 3 playoff teams. I said Zach Wilson's the worst quarterback I have ever seen, and Justin Fields is not far behind. One last thing before we close out the pod. We have to talk about it. It swept the nation. It was literally the number one thing on all social media platforms last night. You can't escape it. It's like Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce was the number one story in the NFL yesterday. There's no way around it. I listened to the Bill Simmons podcast last night, and he made the argument, and I think he's right. Just because of them possibly dating, I think to America at large, Travis Kelce is now probably the second most famous NFL player after Tom Brady. Like, he just has to be, right? I mean, if you're dating the most famous person in the world, and I mean, what a crazy story.
I don't think
they cut to her how many times during that Fox broadcast? 45 times? It was insane.
I mean, he might. The thing is, it's just so weird looking at it from the lens of like a football fan. Like, of course he's popular. He's a Hall of Fame type. Like, who doesn't know who he is already? And it's like, oh, that like, Taylor Swift fan who's like not watched a lick of football. Like, here's like I saw today, got a Bleacher Report notification. It's like his jersey sales went up 400%.
Insane. NFL shop can't keep up with demand. They're all buying his jersey now. I would imagine a lot of like women's size medium and small rather than their typical, men's 3XL.
You know what I keep hearing? Like, I keep thinking about the whole thing. It's just weird. It's just weird. I don't even think maybe they are dating. I just feel like, I just kept thinking, because I'm pretty sure, Travis, his previous girlfriend, I think they broke up because either, I don't know who broke up with who, but the reason was that he split the bill with her everywhere 50-50. And
here's someone who I don't have to split the bill with because she'll pay.
As a pro man on this podcast, I'm like, Travis, you absolute king. Like, just, you're not married. You don't owe her anything. Was like, hell yeah, Travis. And then I'm like, don't need the money, Travis. Like, I mean, you go to Chili's, are you like, split the 3 for me?
10.99.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, all right, come on, Travis. What? I mean, I get it. I want him to go on a date with Taylor Swift and have him be like, so we going splitting it, Taylor? Like, who's splitting it? When she's like a billionaire. And he's like, so like we're going 50-50? Like, how do we work this out? Like,
and she'll be like, I got it.
Yeah. You ever seen that movie Trainwreck?
Mm-hmm.
The one with LeBron in it?
Yeah.
Which LeBron, I mean, like, I hate that he pioneered this load management movement in the NBA, but he was absolutely fantastic. And then the scene when he's at lunch, like going over the bill, being like playing himself is hilarious. That's what I think is like. The Taylor Swift's like, so I'm gonna pay my half. I had a salad and a water, and Travis, you had like a ribeye and all this. Like, yours a bit more. So here's the breakdown, Travis.
And he's like, I just searched your name on Forbes and it came up with 9 zeros after it. So I think you'll be picking this one up. It's the number one story in the NFL, which is insane. Like, all this stuff happened this week that was nuts. The Dolphins hang 70.
Well, yeah, like you said, they kept cutting her. She was like I don't think she was agonizing over every third down, especially because the game was like not close. But like, she was, every time they could. There was one she like his touchdown was like, yeah, and then like chest bumps this guy sitting next to her. I'm like, I get you rooting for Travis if you are even dating. I don't know. Like, I mean, the fact that she's sitting next to his mom is just wild.
Yeah.
But you couldn't, even if I was like dating somebody, or like, you couldn't pay me to have that much energy on something that I clearly didn't care about like 2 weeks ago. Like, that's
Jamie's saying it's all publicity. It's not real.
I could have some wild takes. Like, something's happening. These elite people, they got some weird shit going on. But like, does Travis want to be in a Taylor Swift song? Like, I don't. Like if they break up, he's getting a whole album.
Oh yeah, and I mean, this is probably a massive boost for his podcast too. You know,
But like Travis Kelce, did he need it? Like what?
He has a
like,
movie
what is
coming
the goal?
out in a month.
What is the like Travis? Don't you have enough money? Like, I mean, I'm not going to say like don't get more. Like you should like get as much money as you want. But like, it seems like a lot of work for a fake relationship.
It's gonna be.
I love my wife, and this shit's hard. Like,
imagine if she was a billionaire with hundreds of millions of fans across the world. That would make it a little more challenging, I would think. Pretty wild, man. I mean, even
is it the biggest? Is it the biggest sports couple ever?
I mean, yeah.
Is it top Tom and Giselle?
Oh yeah. I mean, money wise, Giselle is right up there.
Like Kelce is like NFL, but like Tom celebrity wise is still miles above Travis individually. But like Taylor Swift, I mean, Giselle,
there were some big ones back in the day that we don't talk about as much. Derek Jeter and Mariah Carey was a huge one. Just trying to think, but like nothing's gonna.
A-Rod and J-Lo.
Yeah, A-Rod and J-Lo, A-Rod and Madonna.
A-Rod and whoever.
Insert name here. Yeah, I mean, dude, it's wild. You can't escape it.
Is Messi married or is he with anybody?
No, childhood sweetheart.
Oh, God bless him. Just
Good
wholesome man.
Yep, not like Ronaldo, who, according to Jamie, brings in a different beard every few years. So we'll get into that in a different podcast, some of the theories that my wife has on celebrity relationships. But we had to close with that. We had to cover the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce thing. Every broadcaster.
You mean it's not Carrie Underwood and Mike Fisher?
No, didn't make the cut. Aaron Andrews and whoever that guy was on the.
Jarrett Stoll.
Yep.
God.
Yeah, didn't crack the cut, unfortunately. So that's it, folks. Another episode of the You Like That Feels Great Baby podcast. We'll try to keep it solely on the field next week. We won't bother you with any of this celebrity stuff.
It's been a cruel summer. I'll see.
Every broadcaster in America has to do at least one pun, and I'll leave a blank space here at the end of the podcast for everybody. This has been another episode of the You Like That Feels Great Baby podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll see you again next week. Have a good one.